information. Let's listen to, we told you that America is making a U-turn because it's a new day. It's a new day in America. Americans, they are making a U-turn. There's a paradigm shift from colonialism, from globalization to conservativeness to nationalism. We're explaining so that those in Africa will understand what is going on, because they will need to team up with some of us, indigenous peoples. And you don't come to America, White House, and you'll be doing all those shenanigans that you people are doing. Once you meet them, they will call our team, because we've been in that place more, our member, not me, okay, so that I don't start dropping names. We have people working with us, and they have been everywhere. We told you that Nina's team was in White House 2019 for 7 months, breaking down everything to them. So Trump is armed with information. That's why you see some things he will do, you'll be surprised. How did he know? He is well informed.
He's a common sense president.
Exactly. He's a common sense president. He's not your everyday politician. So things will happen. This is not his vice president, but the next video we are playing is his vice president. That's his name, JD Vance.
JD, yes.
So listen to him. It's a long video, but we want our people to listen so that you understand, because they need partners. In you listen to us. And we want you to say no to propaganda and disinformation. We see people on social media, they'll bring ring lights. Say things they don't know. But if you listen to Daughters of Truth, we don't do propaganda. We don't do lies. We tell you as it is. Truth. Hoping that you will embrace truth and begin to walk in the direction of light and stay away from darkness, because there's nothing good in darkness. Thank you.
Main stage there at the Munich Security Conference, where JD Vance, the U.S. Vice President, is preparing to deliver his remarks. He's just being introduced, I understand, by the chairman of the Munich Security Conference. Let's listen in. There he is.
I wanted to talk about today is, of course, our shared values. And, you know, it's great to be back in Germany. As you heard earlier, I was here last year as United States Senator. I saw Foreign Secretary David Lammy, and joked that both of us last year had different jobs than we have now. But now it's time for all of our countries, for all of us who have been fortunate enough to be given political power by our respective peoples, to use it wisely to improve their lives. And I want to say that, you know, I was fortunate in my time here to spend some time outside the walls of this conference over the last 24 hours. And I've been so impressed by the hospitality of the people, even as, of course, as they're reeling from yesterday's horrendous attack. And the first time I was ever in Munich was with my wife, actually, who's here with me today, on a personal trip. And I've always loved the city of Munich, and I've always loved its people. And I just want to say that we're very moved, and our thoughts and prayers are with Munich and everybody affected by the evil inflicted on this beautiful community. We're thinking about you, we're praying for you, and we will certainly be rooting for you in the days and weeks to come. Now, I hope that's not the last bit of applause that I get, but we gather at this conference, of course, to discuss security, and normally we mean threats to our external security. I see many great military leaders gathered here today. But while the Trump administration is very concerned with European security and believes that we can come to a reasonable settlement between Russia and Ukraine, and we also believe that it's important in the coming years for Europe to step up in a big way to provide for its own defense, the threat that I worry the most about vis-a-vis Europe is not Russia, it's not China, it's not any other external actor. And what I worry about is the threat from within, the retreat of Europe from some of its most fundamental values shared with the United States of America. Now, I was struck that a former European commissioner went on television recently and sounded delighted that the Romanian government had just annulled an entire election. He warned that if things don't go to plan, the very same thing could happen in Germany too. Now, these cavalier statements are shocking to American ears. For years, we've been told that everything we fund and support is in the name of our shared democratic values. Everything from our Ukraine policy to digital censorship is billed as a defense of democracy. But when we see European courts canceling elections and senior officials threatening to cancel others, we ought to ask whether we're holding ourselves to an appropriately high standard. And I say ourselves because I fundamentally believe that we are on the same team. We must do more than talk about democratic values, we must live them. Now, within living memory of many of you in this room, the Cold War positioned defenders of democracy against much more tyrannical forces on this continent. And consider the side in that fight that censored dissidents, that closed churches, that canceled elections. Were they the good guys? Certainly not. And thank God they lost the Cold War. They lost because they neither valued nor respected all of the extraordinary blessings of liberty. The freedom to surprise, to make mistakes, to invent, to build. As it turns out, you can't mandate innovation or creativity, just as you can't force people what to think, what to feel, or what to believe. And we believe those things are certainly connected. And unfortunately, when I look at Europe today, it's sometimes not so clear what happened to some of the Cold War's winners. I look to Brussels, where EU commissars warn citizens that they intend to shut down social media during times of civil unrest the moment they spot what they've judged to be, quote, hateful content. Or to this very country, where police have carried out raids against citizens suspected of posting anti-feminist comments online as part of, quote, combating misogyny on the internet, a day of action. I look to Sweden, where 2 weeks ago the government convicted a Christian activist for participating in Koran burnings that resulted in his friend's murder. And as the judge in his case chillingly noted, Sweden's laws to supposedly protect free expression do not, in fact, grant, and I'm quoting, a free pass to do or say anything without risking offending the group that holds that belief. And perhaps most concerningly, I look to our very dear friends, the United Kingdom, where the backslide away from conscience rights has placed the basic liberties of religious Britons in particular in the crosshairs. A little over 2 years ago, the British government charged Adam Smith Connor, a 51-year-old physiotherapist and an Army veteran, with the heinous crime of standing 50 meters from an abortion clinic and silently praying for 3 minutes. Not obstructing anyone, not interacting with anyone, just silently praying on his own. And after British law enforcement spotted him and demanded to know what he was praying for, Adam replied simply, it was on behalf of the unborn son he and his former girlfriend had aborted years before. Now, the officers were not moved. Adam was found guilty of breaking the government's new buffer zones law, which criminalizes silent prayer and other actions that could influence a person's decision within 200 meters of an abortion facility. He was sentenced to pay thousands of pounds in legal costs to the prosecution. Now, I wish I could say that this was a fluke, a one-off crazy example of a badly written law being enacted against a single person. But no, this last October, just a few months ago, the Scottish government began distributing letters to citizens whose houses lay within so-called safe access zones, warning them that even private prayer within their own homes may amount to breaking the law. Naturally, the government urged readers to report any fellow citizens suspected guilty of thought crime. In Britain and across Europe, free speech, I fear, is in retreat. And in the interest of comedy, my friends, but also in the interest of truth, I will admit that sometimes the loudest voices for censorship have come not from within Europe, but from within my own country, where the prior administration threatened and bullied social media companies to censor so-called misinformation, Misinformation like, for example, the idea that coronavirus had likely leaked from a laboratory in China. Our own government encouraged private companies to silence people who dared to utter what turned out to be an obvious truth. So I come here today not just with an observation, but with an offer. And just as the Biden administration seemed desperate to silence people for speaking their minds, so the Trump administration will do precisely the opposite. And I hope that we can work together on that. In Washington, there is a new sheriff in town. And under Donald Trump's leadership, we may disagree with your views, but we will fight to defend your right to offer it in the public square, agree or disagree. Now, we're at the point, of course, that the situation has gotten so bad that this December, Romania straight up canceled the results of a presidential election based on the flimsy suspicions of an intelligence agency and enormous pressure from its continental neighbors. Now, as I understand it, the argument was that Russian disinformation had infected the Romanian elections. But I'd ask my European friends to have some perspective. You can believe it's wrong for Russia to buy social media advertisements to influence your elections. We certainly do. You can condemn it on the world stage even. But if your democracy can be destroyed with a few $100,000 of digital advertising from a foreign country, then it wasn't very strong to begin with. Now, the good news is that I happen to think your democracies are substantially less brittle than many people apparently fear. And I really do believe that allowing our citizens to speak their mind will make them stronger still. Which, of course, brings us back to Munich, where the organizers of this very conference have banned lawmakers representing populist parties on both the left and the right from participating in these conversations. Now, again, we don't have to agree with everything or anything that people say. But when people represent, when political leaders represent an important constituency, it is incumbent upon us to at least participate in dialogue with them. Now, to many of us on the other side of the Atlantic, it looks more and more like old entrenched interests hiding behind ugly Soviet-era words like misinformation and disinformation, who simply don't like the idea that somebody with an alternative viewpoint might express a different opinion or, God forbid, vote a different way or, even worse, win an election. Now, this is a security conference, and I'm sure you all came here prepared to talk about how exactly you intend to increase defense spending over the next few years in line with some new target. And that's great, because as President Trump has made abundantly clear, he believes that our European friends must play a bigger role in the future of this continent. We don't think, you hear this term, burden sharing, but we think it's an important part of being in a shared alliance together that the Europeans step up while America focuses on areas of the world that are in great danger. But let me also ask you, how will you even begin to think through the kinds of budgeting questions if we don't know what it is that we're defending in the first place? I've heard a lot already in my conversations, and I've had many, many great conversations with many people gathered here in this room. I've heard a lot about what you need to defend yourselves from, and of course that's important. But what has seemed a little bit less clear to me, and certainly I think to many of the citizens of Europe, is what exactly it is that you're defending yourselves for. What is the positive vision that animates this?
All right, so we're going to stop this video here. We'll post it in its entirety on our webpage, or actually can go to DW to listen to the whole video. So the point that we're trying to make, I'll allow my sister to talk because I need to pull up the next video.
Yes, the points we are trying to make, like my sister said, that there's a U-turn going on. And we don't want you to be left in the darkness. For the longest time, 25 years, Ninas have been working, doing things, putting things in place, meeting the important people and explaining to them what is going on against what the colonial people were doing. And today we're seeing we're seeing the results of what those meetings have achieved. And we don't want you to be left in the dark. Because when you are left in the dark, things will happen to you. And then you start shouting. Meanwhile, if you listen to us, if you came to follow what we're breaking down, you will be part of what is happening. You will be part of it. You'll be doing the work. Now, just to summarize what he said, he had him talking about shared democratic values. You can't build a nation with people that you don't share core values. It doesn't happen. So, in renegotiating Nigeria, it's going to be based on shared democratic values. The people that will share the same value. We must not force you. If you want to keep your children and say it's feudalism, and you want to do chop up your children off your hand off your children, and do it in your space. That's basically what America is saying. But they're ready to work because power belongs to the people. But we have to define the people. Who are the people that power belongs to? The owners of the land, the indigenous people, not people that strode into your space because one politician wants to make money. And he wants to go and bring all the reptiles. All the reptiles inside evil forest. Bring them into your country and say, yes, we are now citizens and we'll do whatever. Things are not done that way. There's what you call core value. For you to build a stable society, the members of that society must share core values, even if we don't share everything. But there must be core values, like life being sacrosanct, life, like human beings being born equal. These are core values, not one that wants to chop off the head of other people and then you want to build nation with that person. What nation are you building? Political power belongs to the people, meaning that the people are the ones that temporarily give power to whoever they chose to vote for, to do certain things for them. The power does not belong to drug barons or criminals that will confiscate power, take the people's mandates, and impose their views on the people. And his ring readers are clapping for him. No, that's what he's trying to say. And you know, Americans, they don't just talk for talking. When they come out to speak in public, this is what the policy change is geared towards. As they're speaking, they're doing. You'll be seeing the doings. My people will say the doings, right? You'll be seeing the doings. Remember, in some of our videos before, we have told you about Trump's June 2020 executive order. If you go in our video and type it in our channel, Daughters of Truth, you will see where we broke it down, read it out, and give our people details of what happened. Now, there was an interregnum. Somebody came in after 2020. Certain things were suspended. After the interregnum.
Guess who did it? Your so-called Democratic Party that you guys are so in love with.
Exactly.
The same way Obama tried to stop Good Jonathan when he was good luck, when he was trying to do the right thing. So that's why we say follow the policy, man. Follow the policy and the money too.
Yes. So after that, there was interregnum. So now we are back to business. We are back to where we were going. Like somebody said, hey, what was I saying before I was really interrupted? We are really interrupted. Now we are back to where we were going before. Putting back power to the people, taking power back from criminals, drug barons, all of that. You better be running, looking for where to hide, because this man in White House is not laughing with you. So fundamental issues. Because you see, peace, we must return peace to this world. Global peace is being threatened. And we must return peace to our societies and to the world. The blessings of liberty. You heard him talk about blessings of liberty. You heard him say that even when people have different opinion, you don't just go and use media and social media companies to bully them into silence because they're not saying what you want to hear and what you and your criminal gangs are saying. He said that they will protect your rights, even when you want to say something different. He said they will protect your right to say it and say it in public. Not people like in my platform where they can't even hear me say, oh, See what church people are doing to my people. They don't want to hear it. And I'm an antichrist for daring to voice out that, dear pastors, our children, sorry, I can't say it in English. Do you understand? That your church pastors now make so many things to our people. You don't want to hear it. What type of a Christian are you? Even Christ is ashamed of you. So the vice president said a lot of things, and which, like Mr. said, it's there for you to go and follow. You must understand what is going on. He spoke about mass migration. You can see that taking people back where they belong, and because they want to protect their own space. Now we have to protect our own space. We can't leave our space ungovernable, and that is why we're doing what we're doing. We want to have shared civilization. They say it's time to take our shared civilization in a new direction. We can't continue to deceive ourselves. We can't be saying that we don't know what is going on when we are the ones making the thing to be out of control. We put policies in place that is making migration out of control. It has to be addressed. We are not going to play lip service at it. So people are seeing what you see them denying visa to some people because they are talking, they are planning. You cannot destabilize Nigeria and then you want to run to Canada, you want to run to America, you want to take your children there to go and school and think it's business as usual. While my people are dying. And at the end of the day, these countries are the ones that will suffer. If anything happens to Nigeria and Nigeria goes up in flames, guess the people that will suffer? It's America, it's UK, all these countries. So they are getting it, they're understanding it. You that you're Nigerian, if you are there on social media dancing a willow, you don't know what is coming. So we must embrace the wisdom that is in the voice of the indigenous peoples, the owners of the land. They are working and they want to collaborate with people that are progressing also. So we'll put out more comments and details and highlights. Because of time, we will not go through all.